you should let them suffer. Not out of cruelty, but out of respect, because consequences are the fastest teacher there is, okay? Because they don't negotiate, they don't soften the lesson, and they don't repeat themselves for clarity, all right? Interference delays growth. Every time you step in, explain, rescue, or buffer the impact, you end up stretching the learning curve, all right? You turn a painful lesson into a slow bleed. People don't change from advice, they change from experience. Pain is what actually creates memory. Advice creates notes that don't get reread, right? So when someone feels the full weight of their choices, something actually clicks. The nervous system remembers, the body remembers, and the mind stops arguing with them, all right? And that's when behavior actually changes. So if you save them too early, it feels kind, but most of the time it just teaches them that they'll be saved again, okay? Growth requires ownership requires consequences, consequences require space. So let them feel it, right? Let discomfort do its job, because struggle isn't the actual enemy of change. It's the engine that drives it, all right?
I agree with that. I think the first thing is that suffering isn't always bad, you know, and there's a lot can be learned from suffering. I actually think even though it doesn't feel good, a lot can be learned from it. And there's a scripture, it's in Hebrews, it talks about how, you know, no one enjoys suffering, but, you know, once you go through it and it happens, it yields the beautiful fruit. I think it's Hebrews, man, I'm pretty sure it's Hebrews 12. I'll make sure I put it in the edit. But this is even a biblical thing. Like, God allows suffering. He gives warnings. He gives us commands. Like, there are walls of defense that are in place to keep us from certain consequences and outcomes. But if we keep on, you know, pushing against those walls, if we don't follow those commands, if we don't follow those instructions, we don't heed the warnings, then we find ourselves in situations that are painful, that make life difficult. And I agree, rescuing someone out of things like that can be more of a detriment. He said something along the lines of, it can make a situation to where that's hurtful turn into a slow bleed. And what he's essentially saying is they can feel the pain up front if we just let them suffer. But if we don't let them suffer, it'll be like a slow bleed to a point to where they never really feel it until it gets horrible. So you might as well just let them suffer up front so that they can learn the lesson right away, if that's in their heart. And there's another Bible principle that says foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction draws it far from them. And that's not like a literal rod, but it's like the rod of correction is considered the scripture, instructions, intimate time of teaching. That's what it's talking about. So if someone is foolish in their behavior, foolish in their thinking, foolish in their conversation, sometimes you just have to let them suffer because they're not heeding the advice, the counsel, the teaching that you've extended to them. So it's not about it's not like you have a lack of love. It's more about helping them grow, helping them understand, like, hey, I've strived to teach you, I've strived to save you, but you are determined to go your own way. So the best bet is for you to go your own way, let you see the outcomes of your own way in order to then get to a point to where now you can make up your mind to say, either I'm gonna learn from this negative outcome, from this negative consequence, from this uncomfortable suffering, or I'm just going to keep going down this hole. And honestly, because I see that scripturally, but I've also seen it in like, I partake with a nonprofit here in downtown Dallas area, and I've experienced the unhoused people on the streets say they don't want help. They don't want you to try to get them housed. They don't want you to try to help them get their ID and get cleaned up off the streets. The streets is where they want to be. If they're ready to change, then they'll let you know. But until they're ready, they don't want help. And it's like trying to rescue people like that who don't want to help. They want to be there. So suffering sometimes, if a person even wants to change, is the only lesson and medicine that a person will learn from. And until then, you just kind of have to let it be. I'm not saying that we don't do our work up front trying to help people, but I am telling you from experience. It can be a relationship, it can be a family member, it can be a coworker, it can be a friend, it could be any person, it could be somebody at your church, no matter what it is. Sometimes people just want to go their own way. And the suffering, we must let them sit in it, because trying to save them is only going to push back their lesson even further. So if they really want to do better, you have to let them suffer. Now, here's the crazy part. The consequences of poor decisions can bring about suffering. But even suffering, once things get a little bit better, there's still sometimes consequences there that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. And that's the part that a lot of times people are trying to save you from, is experiencing suffering that it may be a lot on the front end, but you're still going to have a consequence of that suffering that you have to deal with for a lifetime. Like dealing with the wrong person and getting in a relationship with them can set you back for years. Having a child with someone that you're not married to, or marrying someone that everyone has told you, hey, this isn't going to end well, but you still do it. Mismanaging money and using money on certain things, investing in the wrong things, not heeding God's instructions. All these things can bring about suffering, right? But not just suffering on the front end, because every situation for the most part is for a season, and you can learn from it. Like I told you with that verse, what you learn from it can yield beautiful fruit if we learn from it. But even in situations like that, you may not be in the suffering season per se, but there's still consequences for it. Like, I wouldn't say this is a suffering kind of situation, but when I blew my Achilles, I was playing basketball, I blew my Achilles. I had to have surgery. There was this season of like the scar, where it was like, I had to have a cast on it. And then once the cast was taken off, it's like a year, 9 months to a year kind of recovery. I would say that that's like the suffering season of it. Now, when I talk about the consequences that you deal with for a lifetime, how I would say how that relates, the point I'm trying to make to you is that my left leg is still, like the atrophy, it's like the muscle's there, but it's smaller than my right leg. And that Achilles is still, like, there's times I have to stretch it out and massage it. It's not as explosive as it once was, because there's lasting consequences from what happened. It's the same thing. When suffering comes, it's for a season, but due to the decision we make, I still have that scar. You'll still have some scars from it. You'll still have some limitations. Or even if you're not limited, because I'm not limited with my left leg, I can see the difference because of the atrophy that took place during that time. It's not the same size as my right leg. My right leg is stronger. So there's always this lifetime of consequences. So just learn. I don't want to be too long about this, but the point is, it's a two-side coin. We have to learn to let people suffer, and then also we have to make sure we learn how to listen. That's something that I pray about. I'm like, God, I want to be a good listener, because we're all going to suffer, but there's some suffering that's avoidable if we learn to listen it can keep away unnecessary things. It really can. But there's the other side of the coin to where, when people don't heed, we can't just be trying to rescue them. And it's not a lack of love. We just have to learn that in life, suffering is a lesson for people who really want to learn. They want to learn the hard way, but hey, you gotta let them feel it. Anyways, y'all let me know about what y'all think in the comment section, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.
Stand on it, be strong.